Okay.
I thought you just wanted like a round of applause. Yes, like a sitcom. That would be actually good. That would be cool. Just insert a photo of Marine and do like devil horns. Have some tea. I didn't know that was what you did every time.
That's the Minta clock. That's why.
Oh my god! Bing! I just put those two things together. We're gonna pour the tea. I'm shaking.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you. This is the core principle of this podcast called Minta Clock. My name is Abdelaziz Miara, and one of my favorite ways to learn is by listening to people's stories, to dive into their minds, their hearts, and their souls if they are willing to share that with me. Stories have become a huge compass in my life, and if we took the time to listen to people, we'd be amazed at the wealth of experience, of help, and compassion that their stories can offer. In this podcast, I'm gonna try to talk to genuine and kind people that are willing to share their stories with me, and I hope that you can learn from their stories as well. I'm super happy to have you here today, Ashleigh.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm very happy that you accepted to share your story with me.
It's a pleasure.
You are someone that has always been involved in caring for others. That's what strikes me when I hear your story. I think that's a great quality to have. No, truly. So yeah, if you want to start talking about what brought you to that world.
I remember when I was in primary school and I was probably like 10 years old. I remember I went to a very average public school and we didn't have a school counselor or anything like that. And I remember I was going through something kind of difficult in like my home life, and the school staff were aware of it. And I didn't want to talk about it with my teacher or anything. That was embarrassing to me. And I remember we did have a chaplain, which I don't know if you know what that is. It's kind of like a counselor, but also they offer like religious guidance. They are typically Christian, I think, which that was the only thing my school offered at the time. And she was very unprofessional, and she actually had approached me in the school library. I was with all my friends, and she had approached me and asked if I wanted to speak about that matter in front of all my friends. And this like scarred me and pretty much set like the trajectory for, I guess, my like adolescence, that I would not talk to anyone about what was going on for me ever. And so I became very, very good at doing that. And I remember being in high school, and I would probably think that most people would have seen me as a really like loud and outgoing person, which I am. But I don't think anyone would have known what was probably going on for me behind closed doors, because I was very, very good at not opening up about that kind of thing. And I think most of us would know that that is not a healthy thing at all, like at all. And so for a very, very long time as a teenager, I was like, when you think about a typical troubled teen, I had literally no coping skills at all. And I remember by the time I probably got to year 12, I'd say my last year of high school, I knew that I wanted to be someone that people could confide in, because I felt that I never had that when I was young. And I felt that, you know, as a teenager and even as a child, I really felt that a lot of the adults in my life, I don't want to say failed me, but I guess kind of did. Like the sort of, I don't know, the supports that I was offered during those years, really crucial years in development, I didn't have adequate support. And so I knew when I started to reach adulthood, I really knew that that's something that was really important to me. And, you know, at that time in your life, you start to think about what you want to do with the rest of your life. And I always knew that I wanted to be that person that someone could trust. And I wanted to offer support to people that had been in a similar position as me. And I always thought of myself as a caring person. Like, you know, I always had my friends coming to me with their problems. It was mostly the blind leading the blind back then. But I mean, a lot of the time, I think we're really good at offering advice that we do not take. But and that's kind of what started it. I don't know. I just wanted to be that person that wasn't around when I needed it. if I can offer that to someone else, and I feel like, I don't know, I achieved something in life.
You said adults failed you in a way. For people our age, when we start thinking about having children or what you want to do with children, that's one of the biggest blockers, or is something that scares a lot of people because you don't want to fail your children or children in general. And it's not easy because, as we just said, even as adult, we don't really know what we're doing.
Exactly.
We're just like, we have that when we're young, we have that image of, oh, grown-ups, when I'll be 30, I'll know what I'm
Yeah.
doing, whatever.
Yeah, I'll have my
35.
life sorted.
Exactly. I feel
No.
like it kind of never happens.
No. It's all our first time, isn't it?
What do you think they should have done in that case? Or what would you do in their place now?
I think that nowadays we do have resources out there, but the thing is, it takes effort. You need to take it upon yourself to look for those resources, which, that can look like looking at stuff online. You can go to a local GP. You don't necessarily need to go to like a therapist and spend a lot of money looking for a psychologist on how to be a better parent. You can go to your GP and say, I need some support. Can you point me in the right way? I think that, in my situation, people didn't have the right resources. And I think that that's something, particularly if you are a parent or a teacher, or, if you're working specifically with children, I think that's something that you really need to make the effort in. I think that's crucial. And like I said, it's not an extreme amount of effort. It's not impossible to find. We all have access to phones, or most of us do, access to the internet. Quick Google could lead you into the right direction of some really useful resources that could avoid a whole other bag of worms. And I just don't think that that's something that, like people took the time to do, in my circumstance anyway.
I think that people are listening and wondering what was your work, etc.
So initially, actually, I wanted to be a psychologist, and that was what I had sort of initially thought I would do when I was, in my last year of school. And I ended up having a gap year, which, my parents were certain that I would never go to uni if I had a gap year. But I did. I had a gap year and I went back to uni, and that gap allowed me time to actually think about what I wanted to do. And I realized that I didn't want to be a psychologist per se. I didn't want to be someone who was, diagnosing mental illness or was sitting in a chair and, offering therapy. I wanted something more hands-on. So then I decided to study social work, which you can work in a whole variety of fields. You can work with addiction, you can work with the elderly, you can work with young people, literally anything, you name it. And so in my probably fourth year of uni, I started working in something that we call residential care, which is essentially like a care home for children who have been removed from their parents' care. And these children don't have any safe family they can live with. They don't have any safe family friends. There's essentially no option for them. So then they go live in these houses, and there's like rotational carers that work over like a 24-hour roster. And so I started working as a carer, and that kind of just like opened my eyes to a world I had like never been privy to. I know a lot of us, we know there's bad things going on in the world, but fortunately, a lot of us don't have to be exposed to that, which, that's a good thing. But it just opened my eyes to like really the atrocities that people subject children to. And that kind of like sparked, I don't know, my passion to start working with vulnerable young people. And I continued to do that kind of work. I eventually got my degree, and I became a social worker working at the Department for Child Protection, and working with very similar children in similar situations, almost always children that had been removed from their parents' care due to abuse, neglect, you name it.
And I'm guessing you've seen trauma basically every day.
You think you've heard the most fucked up story, and then you get another case file come in and it like completely tops the last one. And it's very easy to become desensitized to it. And in some degree you kind of have to, like, you feel sad and empathetic for these children and these families, really, but you can't let it devastate you, because you've got a job to do. You are required to provide a service. You are the person that needs to be strong for this child. So it's a challenging job, because it is really devastating, the stories that you hear and the children that you meet. You know, they're such beautiful, innocent children, and you know, they've seen more horrors than, you know, what most of us have seen in our adult lives. They've experienced it all, and they're not even like 5 years old yet.
The challenge that you have once you get into their lives is to quote unquote save them, which is, I don't know if that's again the right word or not, but to help them as much as you can get out of those.
It's tricky, because it in some parts it completely depends on the individual. And in other parts, if we want to get like specifically into the psychology of it, you know, we know that children are constantly developing, they're growing, and we know that trauma that happens earlier on will impact a child's development. And, you know, in a perfect world, you would want to remove that child from that environment as early as possible. You know, sometimes we would remove babies the minute that they've been born. And you would more often than not probably see better outcomes for those children, because they haven't been subjected to the trauma for a long period of time. And then you might see a teenager, 16 years old, who has gone through the majority of those crucial years of development, exposed to unthinkable trauma. And we get them by the time that they've experienced all of this. And, you know, we really can only do the best of our ability. Like, there's no miracle fix or cure. Like, it really just depends on them by this point. You know, if they are willing to make better choices, we can point them in the right direction and offer unlimited resources. And at the end of the day, it's up to them whether they take those supports on board and run with it and thrive, or they make poor choices, which a lot of the time, and I would say more often than not, we see poor choices because this is all they've ever known. And if you know, even as adults, we can be stubborn. If we've done something a certain way, like if you make your coffee the same way every single day, and then one day someone comes along and says, no, you need to stop making it like that, you need to do it like this now, you're going to probably push back. It's the same thing. If your parents have taught you for 18 years of your life, don't shower, don't prioritize paying bills, don't respect, you know, the police, like, it's going to be very hard for then someone, and we're, you know, as social workers, most of the time we're the government, which aren't always the most trustworthy people in the world. We're coming along and saying, you know, every way that you've been living your life is essentially wrong. Like, this would be better for you. It's going to be very hard to take that on board. And then
also gaining their trust, I'm guessing, is not that easy, because as you just said, you are a governmental instance, and you come to, you say take them, which is the right word, I feel like, because you take them.
We remove them,
even though you as an external person see that this environment that I live in is not good for me. I've been living in it through my entire life, so it's the only thing I know, and to me that's the normal thing. So you removing me from it, you might see it as a good thing, but how do you convince that other person that it's a good thing for them?
Well, the removal in itself is trauma. Like, it's additional trauma. We are subjecting them to something equally traumatic, even more traumatic. But I mean, it's all our job is it's always about rapport building, and the best thing that you can do really is not to, you know, put yourself, even though you are in a position of authority, you don't want to make it seem like that. You don't want to be coming in like, Miss Trunchbull saying, this is wrong, you're not doing this anymore. Like, you're not going to tell that child how horrible their parents are to try and convince them to come with you. Like, mum and dad have been doing this wrong and this wrong. Empathy is always at the forefront of your practice, always. And you speak to them like a regular human being. They're children, but they're still your equal. And we know you love your mum and dad. We wish you could live with your mum and dad, but right now it's not safe. We want to help mum and dad. We're trying to, because really at the end of the day, that's what we are trying to do. You don't remove the kids because it's fun, because we hate the parents and we think they're bad people and we're going to take the kids away. At the end of the day, we would want that child to remain with the parents. And in fact, the goal is always reunification. That's what it's like, in the department that I worked at. And the idea is that we are removing the child temporarily and offering the parents support in the meantime so that they can, be a family again. But gaining trust is always the hardest part, and sometimes it's just not possible. It really just depends. Some of these children trust too easily. Some don't trust at all. Some sit somewhere in the middle. It always just depends, and you just have to take it as it comes. And at the end of the day, you go to bed knowing that you did the best job that you could do.
And how did that? I know we've been talking about your job for too long.
I don't even do that job anymore.
I know. Yeah, that's
so
a good
I'm living
segue.
my best life now.
So
Fuck them kids.
I love. No, I'm keeping it.
I would still, if my level of French was fluent, I would still do that work here. But
yeah,
exactly.
As you just said, you are not living in Australia anymore. You're in France, and you came here for love.
Yes, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that's just my.
No. Unfortunately, I came here for love. Unfortunately, I came to Paris, to be specific.
So you don't like being in Paris?
I do now.
You do now?
Yeah.
How is that relationship evolving? The love-hate relationship with Paris?
I think it's a bit of Stockholm syndrome. No, I think it's change, isn't it? Like like at the end of the day, I don't know, some people like change, some people don't. I personally struggle with big changes, and Australia, France, two very different countries. The city I'm from, Adelaide, is small in comparison to Paris, and all my friends and family, well, before I moved here, I didn't have I didn't have any friends here really. Before I came here, I knew a few of Marine's friends, but not a whole variety. And so it was scary, and not having like my usual go-to people just like 5 minutes away was hard. And I think I've passed like the worst of it now. And now I'm actually, maybe it's worse now because I feel torn, because I really enjoy my life here in Paris now, but I also really love my life at home. Mm-hmm. And I don't know which one I want more. Yeah. I wish I could have both. So
yeah, that's a tough one to tackle. But I feel like you have a very supportive partner, which is always a good thing to have. So she's probably going to follow you, or you follow her wherever you see fit.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was a big move. How did you reach that decision where you had to make the move to come here rather than her go back? How did you let her win?
COVID. That fucking COVID. So it was never in my plan. And, like when you're an adult, we always think like you want to have your shit together by 30. You have like a plan for yourself. Well, I did anyway. And I had this plan that I envisioned for our life. And we had always decided that when we had both finished our degrees, because when we met, we were both in uni, and that was really important to us that we'd finish our degrees. And we had decided that she would relocate to Australia, and that was what I wanted to. She had lived, overseas before, so it was really like it was easier for her to make that transition than for me. And COVID happened and we didn't see each other for 2 years, and Australia had very, very strict border control, and it got to a point where it was like the end of 2 years. Really, it was like critical at this point because like how much longer could it go on? And so there was talk that Australia was going to open its borders to allow people to leave, but they still weren't taking in anyone like for immigration and stuff like that. And they did. They released a date that they'd be opening the borders, and I really just had to make it wasn't even a choice, really. It was I'm either never going to see her again, and I don't know what that would look like for our relationship, because, you know, we had done long distance for like 4 years. 4 years prior to that, we'd been going back and forth. But, you know, it was challenging to make a relationship work without seeing that person at all. Like, that's really hard. And so it wasn't even I didn't even have to think about it. Like, as soon as I knew the borders were opening, I booked a ticket one way and I knew that I was going to move. At first, I didn't really it didn't hit me. I was kind of excited because it meant that I got to quit my job, which I loved, but I mean, it was also stressful. So I was like excited about quitting. But then it really dawned on me, probably the 2 weeks leading up to it, I was just crying constantly. At the thought of leaving my pets, my family, my friends. It kind of hit me at this point that I wasn't going to see them just whenever I wanted. And so that was hard. And then I moved. And at first it was exciting because it was all new and different. And I would probably say 6 months into it, I was thinking, nah. Nah, I'm going home. I can't do this. I remember I got abused on the metro one day because I accidentally knocked a guy's hat off and I didn't understand a word of what he was saying. I knew it was mean. And I came home, I was crying, and I said to Maureen, I'm booking a ticket. I'm going home.
That was the limit.
Yes,
Metro abuse.
I'm still here. This will be my 3rd year.
That move, because as you said, you realize that you're not going to be able to see your family anymore. It's a hard thing to do. And even more when you are, I don't know if it's harder when you're older or younger, because for me the move was when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had the purpose for my move. It was mainly for studies. So I think you cope with your, I'm going to leave my family away and not be able to see them every day because you have a mission kind of in your head.
Yes.
Which in your case was love, which is another good one, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's a riskier one because, as you said, you haven't seen each other for 2 years. You've been long distance for 4, so it's a big gamble to be I'm throwing away my life basically for this person.
That's what it felt like. It felt like, you know, I had worked, and even though it really was never that deep, but this is just kind of my thought process. I thought I was throwing everything away, my degree that I had worked hard on, the career that I had always wanted, all these things that I had established for myself at home. I was basically leaving it all behind. And I felt I was worried that I was failing, as an adult, I was doing something reckless and, you know, stupid. But even now, sometimes I have those thoughts of you know, is it embarrassing that I'm almost 30 and I'm not doing the job that I should be doing, that I studied for? But then I just kind of snap myself out of it and just think, you're going to look back on these days when you're 70 years old, you're going to be looking back thinking, I'm so grateful that I had the experience that I did and that I took a risk. You know, no, I'm not going to be on my deathbed thinking, why the fuck did I move to Paris?
You bring up a very important point. You say you took a risk. To me, and maybe other people won't agree with me, but it's a positive risk in the sense that you chose family, you chose a partner, you chose love, which is not something that everyone does, and it's not especially in our generation or this age that we live in, and it's paying off in a sense, hopefully. Hopefully, I know it's paying off.
Love you, Marine.
But no, it's true, because as you said, when you are at your deathbed, and I saw my grandma go from a very healthy person to having cancer and being on her deathbed in a time of like 1 year. And what stood with her during that time was her family. She has eight kids, and I can't tell you how much they invested in that time. Like literally for a year, they all paused their careers, their jobs. She had one of her kids with her at all time for a year. There was not a minute of the day where one of them was not present with her.
Yeah.
Which is not something that everyone would do for you. And what else would you expect or want more at that time of your life than the family or the people that love you to be around you and to sacrifice all their life basically for you? I can only be happy that you made that choice.
Thank you.
So yeah, coming to Paris was difficult from what you said, but also because you're a pretty tough shell to get into. Even though you are a very empathic person, and as you said, you're very easy to talk to.
Yes. Sometimes, though, it can be a bad thing. I feel like people tend to open up to me about their problems, which isn't always a bad thing. I'm always happy to, talk to someone, but every now and again, it's kind of like I've hit my quota of your problems for now. Like, I'm going to start charging you. Yeah. And I've always found that, like my whole life, I've always found that people are really inclined to talk to me about things, which that's exactly why I went into the work that I went into. But sometimes it's annoying. Yeah, I mean, because the thing that people don't know is when you are that kind of person, you, at least for me, I don't know if the same you can confirm or deny, but you take on the emotions of the other person as well. Yes. And I think it's very tricky to get separated from that, because to be empathic with the other person, you have to kind of take on their mind, live in their skin, kind of, which means that you are not only living your life, but now as soon as someone starts talking to you about anything, you're like, oh, but this problem is now mine, and you kind of imagine yourself in that situation, and it's too much sometimes, to be honest. So yeah, I understand you. But to be a good friend, you have to, I mean. Exactly. I really, as much, like, Marine always laughs at this. Like, at first, I'm always really, really anxious about meeting new people. And I don't, like, honestly, I think that I am easy to talk to. And more often than not, I am, like, pretty confident, outgoing. But something about meeting someone for the first time makes me so anxious, and I always want to put it off and avoid it. And I think it just comes down to, are they going to like me or not? I worry that if I say something wrong or whatever, like, that's really all it is. And I feel shy, but then I sit down and I start talking, and I don't shut up. But it's like the steps you take before meeting someone for the first time that plagues on my mind the most. I don't know. I'm shy in the beginning, but I'm really. But do you know why you're shy in the beginning? I mean, you said because you're afraid honestly, that people wouldn't like you, but I think it's just a fear. I think it's just an irrational fear of rejection or someone not liking me. I don't like if I'm gonna get, like, explore my past as to why that might be. I don't know, maybe I remember when I was a kid, or even in high school, I remember always being really, really loud, almost obnoxious, to be honest, but that's just like who I was as a kid. I was very, very outgoing, and people tend to not like that. Sometimes it is annoying. And I remember people always seemed to, like, not like me when I was a kid or in high school for that reason. I remember when I was in high school, not that it means anything, but I remember a lot of the high school boys didn't like me because I was too loud. And I think that's, like, stuck with me in a sense that I don't want to be annoying, and like I worry about meeting people for the first time because I am naturally really talkative. I can be loud. I laugh a lot. I suppose that there's a part
That's
of
what we
me.
like about you, though.
I know. Well, some people might not. I don't know, but that's the fear. Like that's the worry. Is I feel like I need to really mute myself because people might not like that about me.
But who cares again?
Exactly.
No, in the sense that
But
who
it's
cares?
true.
We
That's
do
what.
care. That's the thing. Again, I think this is a very repetitive topic. Everyone I've talked to in this podcast, at least, we reach this point where
Yes.
we talk about this topic. And again, it's very interesting to see that whatever age we're at, we all want to fit in. We are social creatures, and we just
Yes.
want to be liked. Not
Yes. I think it gets. Well, in my case anyway, I feel like it's gotten easier the older that I've gotten. I as much as I still care about what people think of me, it doesn't, I suppose, impact my life as much as it probably did when I was a teenager or even a young adult. In life, you make friends and you lose friends along the way, and specifically, like, I think I maybe kept in touch with one person from high school. Whereas when I was in high school, popularity, a big social circle, like that was really, really important because that must mean that you're worth something. If lots of people like you and lots of people want to be a friend, that must mean that you're like really great. But
it's true, because if no one likes you, you start associating, as you said, your
yes.
worth to that. You're like,
Yes.
oh, why does no one see this light
Yes.
that because you know yourself, or
Yes.
you think you know yourself, and then you're like, oh, but no one likes that, and you have
Yeah.
to change yourself for
Exactly.
others,
That's the
which-
trouble. You start to sort of like adapt who you are depending on who you're with or what crowd you're hanging with. And honestly, I think I've gone through like 50 different personalities probably from the time I was in year 8 of high school to like, I don't know, maybe like 20. I went through many different transformations, just all in an attempt to find my people. And the thing is, now that I'm not almost 30, I have like a very, very small, close-knit group of friends, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like I don't feel the need to be liked by everyone. But those who I do meet, I hope that they like me. Going back to that thing of when I meet new people, I hope that they like me, but I don't sort of go out of my way anymore to be liked by everyone. And I don't find that I really change who I am depending on who I'm with. I try to come as I am, and if this person doesn't like it, like that's on them.
Yeah,
that's on
true.
them.
Also, you said that you changed 50 personalities to kind of find the right crowd, but as I've again grown older as well.
Yes.
Oh God. We like what I've noticed, at least me right now with the group of friends that I have, is that they fit small parts of my personality. Yes. But as you grow up, you kind of shape your personality little by little to be multiple personalities.
And exactly. And I think you learn that you can be all those things, and you can have all these different friends from a variety of backgrounds, and you learn to respect that, and because that's life. Whereas, when you're a teenager, your frontal lobe hasn't fully developed. And like some people, I think, don't grow out of that mindset. And they're the people that I let go. As I got older, they were the first people that I distanced myself from, because it's just not healthy.
But you talked about something very interesting, which is your real job in Paris is you're actually, again, in the same kind of field. You're helping children. It's a continuity of what you were doing, so you're not completely dissociated.
Not completely
from your old life.
No, I still like I really enjoy working with children, and I think that's something that I would want to do for a while. I think for me, it's, and again, we're all our own worst critics. The only person who has been critical of me becoming a nanny has been me. I have not one single person, like in my friendship group or my family, has said, I can't believe you've left a career in social work to become a nanny. Whereas for me, I feel like I almost like demoted myself, but at the same time, again, I have to like snap myself out of it because for one, like I feel grateful that I even was able to get a job. Not everyone is that lucky. And the job is actually a very good one. The family are lovely. It's not high stress at all. I'm gonna go back into the field that I was doing eventually, and I'm gonna look back and think, fuck, I wish I was a nanny again. I think, for me, comparison is a thief of joy. And my biggest issue is I'm always comparing myself to other people, particularly other people my age, and seeing what they're doing. And then I look at myself and I think, maybe I should be I should be on par with these people. And that's the number one thing you just cannot do is compare yourself to other people and base your success off of someone else's success, because success looks different to everyone. And that's something I remind myself as well. Not everyone can say they got to live overseas and experience a different culture and learn a new language while still having financial security and a loving partner and a beautiful apartment. It's so easy to look at someone else's life and think, why doesn't mine look like that, when someone's probably looking at your life and thinking the exact same thing.
Also, something that you just said is that you compare yourself to yourself, right? And you think that you're not reaching whatever level you should be reaching. But to me, that's not really true, because it's not that you are doing what you are doing because you are incompetent. It's a choice that you made. Doesn't mean, as you said, you're gonna eventually come back to the life you had, reach the goals that you want to reach, but this is what you're choosing to do now. There's a big difference between someone who's like, I am whatever, because there are no bad jobs or good jobs, because I can do nothing else. I have no competence to do nothing else, so I'm stuck in this, which is horrible because you feel stuck. And you being, oh, I can do what I want to do, and this is what I want to do right now, and this is what makes me happy now, and in 3 years, 2 years, I'm going to look back and, as you just said, be happy that I had this experience.
Exactly.
And now I'm back in my life, and now I want to make X amount of money per year or per month, and I have the knowledge and the capacity to do it, but I still chose to do that. The same way you said earlier that you chose to take your gap year. I mean, it's a privilege to kind of have that choice in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at it in a bad way is, in my opinion, well, there's no bad way to look at it.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to say. It took a long way to say something very simple. Not with
I never denied a cuddle.
Yeah, I mean, you're a physical touch, love language person. Yeah, so yeah, how did you...
Well, I think I'm gonna...
How did you find the love of your life?
She's a hoarder. That's a dark part of my history.
Started doing TikTok as well.
Don't forget to follow.